From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's up, world? It's the one and only Pop DBIC, the Primetime Capper. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I hope you are feeling the same. And it is time for the premier sports betting show, the PrimeTimeAngles. And boy, oh boy, let's go ahead and jump into it, man. It's Friday Night Lights tonight for high school, for college football, and all that good stuff. But, you know, we can only bet college football. We can't bet high school football. If they could bet high school football, they would rig those games for real, for real. They would. They truly would. Thank you. Yes, you guys, I had to go get a clean cut. I had to stop looking like somebody on Skid Row over here trying to give you guys the best bets of the day. It looked like I was coming up out of a soup kitchen. So, you know, I have to make sure that, you know, I'm looking good. But, you know, these barbers are expensive now. You know what I mean? It ain't like the good old days where they was begging you in parking lots and things like that to cut your hair up. So, Friday Night Lights, man. We got ourselves 4 games tonight. We got a game in the Big. We got a game in the ACC, and we got 2 games in the Mountain West tonight. The first game up that we're going to talk about tonight is going to be this. It's going to be Wisconsin, 2-1 at Purdue, 1-2. These two teams are arch rivals. They've been going at it for years, and this is a Big Ten West matchup as well, too. You know what I mean? There's a lot of bravado that goes into this game, and everybody knows that Purdue is always upset special if they want to be. That's why the spread is at +6.5 instead of the spread being, you know, say maybe 9 or something of that nature for Wisconsin. Wisconsin's not the same Wisconsin that we've known in the past. You know, we have to just pretty much realize that these aren't the guys. These aren't Ron Dane's boys. You know, this isn't Barry Alvarez roaming the sideline anymore. This is a new wave. This is a new era for them. They're on the road tonight as well, too, going against the Purdue team that's pretty hungry to get themselves back into the win column. They were embarrassed last week against Syracuse. Now, you look at Wisconsin's first 3 games of the season, they did very well against Buffalo. When they played Washington State, they were still a ranked team. They wound up losing that game by 9, but they lost that game in Pullman. And so that's what gets you a little worried about tonight because they lost that game on the road. How good are they on the road? They're 0-1 on the road at this point, and they're playing a conference opponent tonight. They came back and beat Georgia Southern by 21 last week. So that's a good bounce back game. But when it came to playing another Power 5 school, they didn't look that great. But Purdue is going through its own issues itself. Purdue has had a tougher schedule, though. Purdue hasn't played anybody that's supposed to be a tune-up. Fresno State was a game that they thought was going to be a tune-up, but Fresno State came in with an 11-game winning streak. So why would that be a tune-up? That was a game that was actually one of the better games of week 0 or whatever it was, week 0, week 1, I don't know. But pretty much it was the first weeks of college football. Then they bounced back with a 7-point win over a lowly Virginia Tech team. And they had to go back and forth with this team as well, too. Virginia Tech, it was 17 all in the first half, and then they were able to get a touchdown in the fourth quarter to win that game. And that touchdown came with 8:06 left. So the defenses showed that they can stand up. They haven't the highest point total they gave it up all season was 39, but they gave up 35 points last week as well, too, and these were both losses. Now, if they can keep things around the 20 area or under 20, hey, we got ourselves a ball game here. So pretty much with that, I feel like the best bet here is to play the under. I feel like what's going to happen tonight is it's going to be who blinks first type of game. You know what I mean? And that's where I'm looking at with this one right here. So with that, that's going to be a wrap on Wisconsin at Purdue. Now we move forward and let's talk about North Carolina State and Virginia. This is an old school rivalry as well. These guys have been going at it for years in the ACC, and we all know that Virginia is one of the oldest universities in the South, and North Carolina State is one of the more older establishments in the South as well too. But the longest running rivalry is between Virginia and North Carolina Chapel Hill, the Tar Heels. So tonight, this one looks like it's a good sparring matchup for NC State. But NC State does come in here with some questions, but they did lose to Notre Dame. It wasn't like they lost to some powder puff team. They lost to Notre Dame. Notre Dame beat them 45-24. The game was delayed as well, too. So that kind of played a factor into the way that game played out, because everybody has to understand, going into the fourth quarter, the game was pretty close. The game was 24-17. And you felt like NC State could make a move to put themselves in position to win that game. But what happened was Notre Dame turned it on in the fourth quarter, doing what teams like that they're supposed to do. They're rated to be one of the best teams in college football. So they took care of their business, and they were able to score 21 unanswered points. And by the time North Carolina State scored a touchdown, the game was already out of reach. So that's pretty much what happened. Sam Hartman had a hell of a game, and it's just, you showed up, you tried to make it happen, but you just couldn't. And that's what happens sometimes when you're dealing with elite teams like Notre Dame. And now tonight you got Virginia. This is a game that you really can't overlook, because last week Maryland got caught slipping for a little bit, but then they put it together and beat them 42-14. You don't want to wind up being like James Madison, who really had to scrape and claw to actually beat Virginia. But that's actually a game Virginia should have won, because regardless of James Madison being the best team in the Sun Belt, that still warrants you to still not be able to beat the worst team in the ACC. You know what I mean? It's still an even matchup. And you know what? Virginia just didn't step up that day. And you know what? It happens. That's college football for you. And today, I feel like where we go here is we have a fluctuating spread, and pretty much the spread is telling me the Wolfpack win this game by 10 or better. It's really that simple. It's going to be a really good game, but it's going to come down to who wants it more, and I feel like who's going to want it more is going to be NC State tonight. And I just feel like them winning by double digits is an afterthought. That's why I'm taking them. Now it's at -8. I got them at -9 on my CFB conference bets list. So regardless, I need them to win by 10 or better. I need a double-digit win. It doesn't matter. I need a double-digit win, but we do have the -8 on tonight's Friday night pick 4. So with that, let's go ahead and move forward and talk about our next game in hand, and that's going to be this one. It's going to be Air Force tonight. Air Force is looking pretty good, and Air Force is, pretty much one of those teams that you look at and you say to yourself, hey, they're pretty good, and they're going to really challenge teams this season as well. They're 3-0. They're going against San Jose State, who has a pretty good resume coming in. They're 1-3, but when I say pretty good resume, that means that who you've played. It's just like boxing. You look at a guy's resume and say, who did he go against? Same thing with horse races. Who did he go against before this matchup right here? And then you look at who San Jose State played. They should be prepared for a game like this. They're playing at home tonight. They should have the upset on their mind as well, too. You guys have to understand, you cannot discount conference opponents. You just cannot do that. That's just stupid. It's not a smart idea. And you look at a team like Air Force, everything is based on the run with them. And it's based on being conservative and eating up clock. Now, if San Jose State can figure out a way to spark themselves to play the same game plan as Air Force, they could be in this game. They're giving up they're scoring 30 points a game, and they are giving up 30 points a game. So that's where, San Jose State kind of shoots themselves in the foot. Air Force comes into the game, and they are exceptional on defense. They're only giving up 10 points a game, number 12 in the nation at this point, and they're just playing great. That's what it is right now. They blew away Utah State last week. They were able to dominate Sam Houston State, and then they took care of their business to open up the season against Robert Morris. So, Air Force is a team that you can really look at and say, you know what, we can trust them to have a big game. They're riding a pretty long streak as well coming into this game, but you always have to be ready for anything when you're playing San Jose State. San Jose State is always a team that's ready to fight and ready to claw and ready to upset a team. You know what I mean? Ask San Diego State. San Diego State spent a few years where they were the best team in the Mountain West, and they kept having troubles when they would have to go to San Jose State. So Air Force doesn't want to get caught up in that, and I don't feel like they will, but I'm going to go ahead and take the over 45.5 here. It's at 46 now, but I do like the over 45.5 here, and also the over 46. I feel like they can get up to 50 points in this game today, and I feel like it's probably going to be Air Force doing it via blowout as well too. So with that, that's going to be a wrap on our first matchup in the Mountain West Conference, and let's move forward to our next matchup, which is Goody. It's always a showdown between these two. You have Boise State, an unfamiliar 1-2. You have San Diego State coming in here 2-2, and you have San Diego State as a 6.5-point dog coming into the game as well too, with the over/under of 46.5. Now let's go ahead and look at this game in perspective and see that you have a Boise State team that's not the same Boise State. They are scoring 25 points a game, but they're giving up 30 points a game. This is very unfamiliar of them. But San Diego State's no better. They're scoring 18.8 a game, and they're giving up 25 points a game. So both these teams are actually have pretty bad score differentials at this moment right now. And when you look at the passing game, that will favor Boise State tonight. And when you look at the rush game, that will favor San Diego State tonight. So this will be a very, very telling game. And I feel like what's going to happen here is that you have a great home field advantage for the San Diego State Aztecs. And I truly do feel that the Aztecs are going to be on their A game tonight, and they're going to want to entertain this home crowd. They have Friday night, big time football, at their brand new stadium, which is about a year or two old. And, they got the people, they don't have to worry about competing with the Chargers on Sunday. This is pretty much their NFL game of the week in San Diego. So expect a sellout, expect a lot of Boise fans to pull up because everybody wants to find an excuse to go to San Diego and go watch a football game and hang out for the weekend. You know what I mean? One of the prettiest places in the world. You guys have to get to San Diego. Beautiful, beautiful city. So when you look at the way Boise State's coming in here, they played two really tough games to start the year. They played Washington, who absolutely crushed them in Seattle. Then last week, they played against UCF, now who's a Power 5 school, and UCF eked out a win against the Broncos. And then, they got their tune-up win over North Dakota, and 42-18. So that's probably going to give them a little bit of confidence coming into this game. But when you look at the resume of San Diego State, they played two Pac-12 teams in a row that are ranked, okay? And they got smoked by UCLA, who debuted their super freshman quarterback that day, and Oregon State just pretty much handled them in a home win. You know what I mean? But they didn't kill them. They just were able to beat them by 17 points. You know what I mean? But San Diego State still showed that they still have their defense there, and they haven't given up more than 35 points this season. So that's something that you can really say to yourself that San Diego State is still a pretty good defensive team, because when you look at their other three games, they did not give up the amount that they did in the UCLA game. So they're going to be pretty tough, in my opinion, coming into the night. The Broncos are a team that's a work in progress. They're working their way back into being the dominant Boise State Broncos that we remember. But I truly do think that it's going to be some time before that, because literally the first game of the season showed you exactly who Boise State truly is. They used to be able to hang in games like that with the Washingtons of the world and make the game really close. And that was the first time in a long time I saw them in an opener and they looked like a tune-up. They do not look like a tune-up most years. They're usually a problem. They have became like the Gonzaga of college football, but that's kind of taken a back seat at this moment. And I think that pretty much the Mountain West Conference caught up with Boise State at this point, and that's why you have it to where you have all this parity, but really it's Fresno State that seems to be the leader in the clubhouse by the end of the year every single year. So with that, that's going to be a wrap on our Friday night games. And when I get back, we're going to jump into Blue Crew Daily. We're also going to go ahead and talk some MLB Friday Night as well, too. So you guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune in to Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, we're back with the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. Let's go ahead and jump into Blue Crew Daily. And Blue Crew Daily, we got ourselves some pretty good looks for our Dodgers this weekend. They look to end the Giants season this weekend. And a fun memory that I have, it's not really a fun memory, but I remember it was a memory I had. It's about almost 30 some odd years ago, and the Dodgers were chasing the West, and they were trying to get into the playoffs. And this is when Atlanta still was a Western team and all that good stuff before they broke up everybody and put them in, separate divisions and things like that. Atlanta used to be a team in the West division because they came in later, and you had to make things equal. So a lot of these teams from the South went to the West. So pretty much the Dodgers were playing to try to get into the pennant. We're trying to win the pennant, and they were still kind of tied up with. They were like, I guess Atlanta was probably a half a game ahead. And pretty much the Dodgers had to win the whole weekend, and they would be able to get the spot, right? Well, the Dodgers wound up losing the first 2 games, and the crowd noise and just everything that went into the game, and it eliminated the Dodgers. And I always remember that. And I always really do enjoy this time of the year when you know that the Giants are playoff chances are kind of on the edge, and they can be ended if the Dodgers feel like ending it this weekend. And I feel like it's always sweet revenge when the Dodgers end the Giants season from them trying to get in their postseason runs, where it's not ending their season, but literally just saying that you're the bus stops here. You know what I mean? We're not going to October. And I truly do feel like the Dodgers have that in mind this weekend as a beginning to their run to the World Series. If Dave Roberts has the mental game down right, he says, let's get the Giants out the way. Giants are our most hated rival, everything like that. Let's go ahead and eliminate them. Let's start it off by eliminating them. And then we'll have some more games coming up. I think the Padres will be playing the Dodgers in San Diego at the end of the month. I got to recheck the schedule real quick, but I know that the Dodgers have it in mind to go ahead and really try to beat up on the Giants this weekend because, it's sweet revenge. And the Giants, when they did come to LA, they did sweep the Dodgers, and they're trying to get that one back. So this is going to be a really, really fun series this weekend. They wound up beating them last night 7-2. So the Dodgers, they've already got down one game. So they're trying to get down, at least two more because the Dodgers have a 4-game series with them this weekend. And I truly do feel that the Dodgers are going to be in the right mind state, the right mentality to go ahead and beat these guys 3 out of 4 or sweep them this weekend because you want to send the message that, we're not stopping for anybody. We're not going to sit up in here and get comfortable. You want us comfortable. We've been comfortable for the last 5 years and we keep coming up short on the World Series. We only got one out the group. Been in 3 World Series in the last 7 years, but only have one, and they should have 3 or maybe 4 or maybe 5. And the Dodgers know that they have to put their mentality in the same mentality that they had in 2020, telling themselves they've done absolutely nothing. And that's the right way to go. And the Dodgers are in keen position to be a big player in October. I'm looking forward to it. I'm ready to start screaming Blue October once again. And with that, we're going to go ahead and move forward to our next topic in hand, and that's going to be MLB Friday Night. We got ourselves a bunch of really, really great games tonight and everything like that. We pretty much have a great series in place tonight, with a whole bunch of teams. I didn't do our MLB series bets prices, but I will go ahead and throw that out there for the weekend. I didn't do it for the group. I kind of forgot. I just remembered it now. But let's start and talk about the Blue Jays and the Rays. The Blue Jays coming into this game ready to really solidify their position as the wild card at this point. But that the Rays are trying to still win the Eastern Division. And that's what makes this so much fun. Now, it's crazy that you have a Blue Jays team that's actually 8.5 games behind the Rays at this point. And then they're 10 games behind Baltimore. So this will be a very intriguing series for both teams because Toronto has to stay afloat. Toronto has to win this series. Toronto messes around, loses 2 out of 3, they could find themselves out of the playoff mix because the Rangers and Seattle are playing 3 games, okay? And the winner is going to be the final playoff spot. But if Toronto sadly gets swept this weekend and the winner, it doesn't matter who the winner is going to be of the series, both of them will be in the playoffs to start Monday morning. You know what I mean? And this is why it's so crucial. It's down to 3 teams to get the final 2 spots of the wild card. And will it be Toronto? Will it be Seattle? Will it be the Blue Jays? The Blue Jays seem to be in the right position at the right time. But the Blue Jays have been like this pretty much all season where they'll have it to where they're sitting pretty and they're in the playoff run. And then they'll have a week where they lose 3 in a row and find themselves back outside on the outside looking in. So what to do. Tonight, I feel like what happens here is the Blue Jays are going to play this game like it's a playoff game. The Rays should try to match that type of intensity, but the Rays aren't really that much in a hurry because they know that, Baltimore is in a tough series this weekend with Cleveland. So at the end of the day, do you have to win game 1 if you're the Rays? Not necessarily, but you do need to try to win the series. The Blue Jays are in a win-win-win mode mentality, and I feel like tonight they're going to want it a lot more than the Rays. And so that's why I'm going to take the Blue Jays as the dog of the day today with the plus 130. I'm trusting Chris Bassett on the mound, and we'll go from there. So that's going to be our AL East matchup tonight, the Blue Jays and the Rays, and we go from there. So pretty much let's go ahead and switch over to our next game, which is going to be the Brewers and the Marlins. The Brewers and the Marlins. This is going to be another good game. It has playoff aspirations to it. You have the Brewers who are 87 and 65. You have the Marlins who are 79 and 64. And just say this: if the Marlins were to make the playoffs and the Brewers were to stay pat at the 3-shot, then you know what happens? These guys play each other in the first round of the playoffs. They would play a 3-game series. And I truly do feel this is a good measurement to see exactly who would be the better team when it comes down to this. And if you're the Brewers, you pray that you get to play against the Marlins team in the first round, because when you look at the other teams, the Brewers don't match up that well with them, but the Brewers have done a good job of holding off their opposition, okay? The Central became one of the tougher divisions to lock down all season long, but once the Brewers got to the All-Star break, they pretty much started cooking with hot grease, and they've been really good ever since. And they were able to make some good trades during the deadline as well too, to keep this team afloat and keep this team consistent and keep this team hovering around first place. And then they had their 6 games in 1 week against the Reds and pretty much took over the division from that point on, and they haven't looked back. So the Brewers are playing great baseball right now. They're looking towards continuing to play great baseball. The Marlins have been such a roller coaster. They're either up or they're down. And at this point right now, they're up. But they need to be consistent, because the next few weeks, it's going to be really tough each game, because now every game has a little bit more of a spotlight on it. Now they're looking at you guys to go in there and play with the playoff mentality already. I don't know if Miami's ready for all that yet, but they do have a fun, exciting team, and there's going to be a lot of things moving forward with the Marlins that's going to be exciting for the long-term future of the MLB. They play in a great stadium. They have a great lineup. They have a great pitching staff, and they are a team that's a team of the future, in my opinion. It's not right now for them, but they can keep competing, keep looking good, and they would be a fun entity in this year's playoff as well too, as one of the younger teams that's feeling like more of an upstart than just some team, getting in the playoffs this year, but it's going to be good. This is going to be a great series tonight, and great series kicking off tonight. So with that, what am I doing with this game? That's the question. What I'm going to do with this game is I'm going to go ahead, and we're actually going to take the Marlins with the +1.5. The Marlins are actually a +135 on the run line tonight as well too. So that's a very valuable play. So with that, we will move forward to our next, and that's going to be the Mariners and the Rangers. And I feel like this is the biggest series of the weekend, because funny thing is this: surprise, surprise, if the Astros, who usually struggle against some of the worst teams in the league because they play down to their competition, if they wind up having a bad weekend against the Royals, guess what? They'll be out of the playoffs. And these two teams will be taking their spot in the playoffs, because they're not that far apart. They're a half a game a piece split from each other. The Mariners and the Rangers are tied. The only reason why the Mariners are in the playoffs right now is because they own the tiebreaker. And we know that they swept the Rangers in Seattle, and they came to Houston and swept the Astros. The Mariners have been good against their division opponents this year. It's been the other side of the American League that's given them some trouble. And they ran into a little bit of a roadblock after having a successful 6 weeks where they absolutely were tearing it up and were pretty much the best team in all of baseball. But at this point right now, they're trying to just keep everything intact so they can go ahead and get into this playoff. And they are one of the more dangerous teams in the American League once they step foot into the playoffs as well too, because they're hitting their groove at the right time. They're getting good at the right time. The Rangers, I feel like they can still make the playoffs, but the Rangers hit the peripheral wall. You know what I mean? Think about it. They haven't won that many games since July. You know, they were at like a 62 mark at one point, like 62 and 27 or something like that. And they have not been good over the summer to me. They've been still winning games, but then they'll lose 6 in a row. They'll lose 7 in a row. And they gave themselves enough of a cushion to where they don't have to worry about, you know, being just 500. But as you can see their record, they should already be almost at 100 wins already, because that's what they were pacing to. They've actually kind of stopped going forward the way that you would want your team to be going forward. So I feel like the Mariners and Astros have a lot of momentum as we keep moving along in these last few weeks, as while the Rangers are somewhat playing on fumes to me. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But this should be a really good series this weekend. And this is a series that's very, very telling on who's going to really be able to advance and do something in the playoffs out of the Western Division. And I know that, you still got the Astros at the top, but the Astros are not guaranteed the title because they still have to play the Mariners, and they still have a matchup with the Rangers as well too, I think, here at the end of the year as well. So there's a lot that goes into this, and it's going to be a lot of fun moving forward on who wins the AL West. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take another quick commercial break, and when I get back, we will be talking those tickets. So you guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Cap.
Now you and your friends can compete in the sport of kings and win big with Stable Duel. Get the app, pick your horses, and get in on the thrill of horse racing with daily games competing against other players. Bring home the glory and the cash, and move up the annual leaderboard while you leave your competition in the dust. Get in the game with Stable Duel. Play, race, win.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
All right, we're back with the premier sports betting show, and it is time for Talking Tickets. And man, I'm feeling kind of weird without not having my series bets for y'all, but I'll get them out for you guys today. No problem. We have the PrimeTime PK6, 44-1, the plus 1.5 to the Marlins, plus 135 tonight. Also, we have the over 9.5 with the Pirates and the Reds tonight as well, too. There is no pitchers announced as of yet, but that's the reason why I'm taking it, because I feel like every time they don't announce pitchers, we'll wind up getting the over, because guys really don't know what to expect. But most times it's guys that are just gonna open the game, not truly start the game. We got the Blue Jays money line plus 130 as our dog of the day. I like that one. I like that bet a lot. The under 8.5 over in the Bronx tonight with the Diamondbacks and the Yankees. Then we have the Phillies tonight. Taijuan Walker on the mound. I'm taking the minus 160 on the money line. And then we got the man himself, the ace of the Red Sox staff, who's literally kind of stealing money, but he's still always a productive pitcher when he is healthy. That's going to be Chris Sale. So hopefully we can get that bet home as well too. And then we move forward to the late ticket. The late pick 4 in the MLB is 15-1 tonight. We're going to take the Mariners to open up this series and get the win against the Rangers with the plus 105. We got the Royals tonight. I'm taking them with the plus 1.5, and they will be at minus 110 on the run line tonight as well. Then you have the Tigers and the A's in an under-the-radar game between two lovely teams, but I do feel like they'll be scrapping a little bit tonight, and I'm going to take the over 8 here. And then we have the Cardinals and the Padres. This should be a really good game over at Petco tonight. I know the people of San Diego will be enjoying it, and this is a game where the Padres are in a must-win situation. They are still kind of swimming around the playoff spot a little bit. They got to catch Arizona here at the end, but Arizona looks like they're not going to be caught. But still, San Diego has peeled off 8 out of their last 9, and it's something that's getting the people excited down there. But possibly they'll do something, but most likely they won't. You know what I mean? They'll probably come up short. But if they were to make it in here, I know teams like the Dodgers and Brewers are going to be pretty pissed because it's going to be, damn, I thought we avoided him. So we move forward. Let's go ahead and jump into our final ticket for tonight, and that's going to be the CFB Friday Night PK4. We got a 20-1. I got the under 54 Wisconsin and Purdue tonight. We got the NC State -8 tonight. Need them to win by double digits or better. We have the over 46.5 with Air Force and San Jose State tonight, and then we wrap it up with San Diego State with the plus 200 tonight at 20-1. So with that, that's going to be a wrap on Talking Tickets tonight. And I pretty much want to thank you guys so much for tuning in today and actually this afternoon. Sorry about that. I'm saying tonight. It's this afternoon. Sorry about that. So pretty much I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in today. You guys are the absolute best. There is no me without you, as I always say. And you guys already know, man, bet with your head, not with your heart. The movement is moving. And this is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles. And let's enjoy the weekend, man. We got a lot of great college football games coming up on Saturday. We got a lot of really good, intense NFL games coming up on Sunday. And then we got a double hitter Monday night as well, too. So you guys make sure you have a lot of fun this weekend. You guys make your money and everything like that. And if you're going to the game, don't be an ass. Don't go up in there trying to fight with people and trying to be the most bravest of the brave. Just enjoy the game, enjoy your people, and go home. You know what I mean? So that's all I got for you guys. I just want to throw that out there for you as well too. You know what I mean? But all in all, thank you guys so much. And once again, this is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, and I am gone.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.